Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we're getting a special early look at the upcoming game Vampire the Masquerade Bloodhunt. This is a brand new free-to-play Battle Royale game set in the Vampire Masquerade universe. But it's more than just vampires with guns, although it is that. There's also plenty of vampire theming in the game's various mechanics. For starters, there are 6 classes, each from different vampire clans with their own unique passive and active abilities. For example, I played as the Prowler, who could go invisible, send out a cloud of bats to spot enemies, and track down wounded players. You can also feed on NPCs to heal yourself or grow in power, as certain ones grant you buffs that last the entire match. There's a big emphasis on verticality, as you're able to climb the walls of every building, which makes getting around super easy. And finally, they play into the Masquerade fantasy of trying to keep knowledge of vampires secret by putting you in a pretty severe disadvantage if you're ever spotted doing something suspicious by the NPCs, like for example murdering people. So today I'll be showing you a bit of Bloodhunt gameplay. This video is being sponsored by Shark Mob. They let me and a bunch of other YouTube and Twitch people get an early hands-on look at the game. If you guys enjoy what you see here, of course, be sure to check out the link in the description below to learn more and register for the upcoming limited closed alpha. That helps me out too. All right, so we played for a bunch of hours trying both the solo and group modes, and I'm just gonna show you a couple of full matches to hopefully give you guys a good idea of what it's like to play Bloodhunt. Okay, so the very first match that we're going to take a look at is the team game, and this was actually our first match ever as well. So there's a bit of stumbling and kind of learning going through the process here. In fact, the very first thing that I do is go up and feed on this human, which there's actually no reason to do. Basically, the humans without this colored glow to them, like you'll see on a couple others here right in front of me, all they do is give you back health. But, so that's good if you get in a fight and you get around the corner and you want a quick heal, you can just feed on a human. But these ones that will have a colored glow to them actually give you benefits. So you can see this particular one gives me 10% cooldown reduction to my Vanish skill. So basically, there's the 4 colors you see on the bottom left. One of them, 2 of them will be one for each of your skills, giving them a cooldown reduction because every class has the 2 skills that are active and then a passive. And then the other 2 colors will give you healing over time and melee damage. So it's actually kind of an interesting system. You basically can pick what types of buffs that you want to get. You start off being able to get 3 buffs in total, so you could spread those out or put all 3 into one of the 4 different buff slots. And then over time throughout the match, as you do this thing called Diablo Rise, which is like an execute, you can unlock more of them. So that's kind of like the meta layer of the game underneath just the actual Battle Royale. There's also that whole buff system. So you'll have noticed I've just basically been walking around. I do this scan vision. It's like this, I don't know what it's called. It's some vampire vision. And it actually shows quite a significant radius. It's at least 100 meters. It's very, very far. But what it'll highlight for you is any NPCs, the normal ones and the ones that give buffs, as well as any loot areas that are nearby. But look at how far that extends when I hit that pole. That's like several hundred meters. That's actually very, very far. It shows you a very, very large radius to give you an idea of, okay, the glowing spots are where there's loot, and then there's the NPCs. So it's a really nice way to navigate around the environment. And it looks like we actually get in our first fight here. My 2 teammates, I've got one of the developers, and then also Shako Taco. He's like some FPS Twitch streamer. Maybe many of you have heard of him. I felt in good hands though. I was like, you play PUBG a lot, right? So we should be good here. To be fair, I don't think I played that badly in the matches that we're seeing today, but I am by no means a pro FPS player. So anywho, here is our first team fight. It's all going to be a little bit messy. You're not going to see like the best coordination between our team and the enemy teams, because like I said, this was our first match for everybody. But it's Battle Royale, it's a team fight, and you get all this verticality. As you've been able to see, we've been running up walls. You're seeing my skills. There's my Vanish skill, which is really, really nice. It actually increases my movement speed pretty significantly. And then that little trail that you see Okay, well, it's one thing at a time. So here are the bats. So I've got 3 skills. I've got my bats, which is basically like sonar, and they'll reveal enemies in their radius. I've got the blood trail, which will show damaged enemies. You can see that kind of leaking off of this guy right here. That is my passive. That big red icon in the middle, which I think that's just a bat's head. When that glows, it's because there's a injured enemy nearby, and I'm tracking their trail with that red blood trail. So that's not something that's always available no matter what character you play. That's specific to the class that I'm playing. There were 6 of them to choose from, each of them from one of 3 like vampire clans. So there's like a clan ability, and then there's also your class abilities plus the passive. It's pretty neat. It's a kind of a neat system to feed into that vampire framework, you know, because it's a battle royale. I've got vampires with guns, but there's all the vampire stuff. There's the feeding on enemies. There's the fact that I can climb up walls because I'm a vampire. I guess they can climb walls. Here's our second team fight here. And then there's also the mechanic of trying not to be spotted, which you're going to actually see in play here. You know, all of these fights on the rooftops, the humans they're none the wiser. Sure, they hear gunshots everywhere, but they're not seeing it. But if any NPCs see you doing something wrong, it actually reveals you. It puts you in this Bloodhunt state, which you'll get to see. I'm pretty sure that happens to me like 1 or 2 times in this match. In terms of like the Battle Royale gunplay stuff, I mean, I don't really know what to say too much about that. It's pretty standard. It's a third-person shooter. We got all sorts of different weapons. You'll have noticed there was weapon rarities as well. So I've got like these dual pistols, which are blue rarity. I've got an LMG and a spiked bat. So there are the 3 slots. It's basically you get 2 ranged weapons and a melee weapon slot. And melee seems like it can be decent in this game. As I mentioned before, those 4 buffs that you can pick from, those colored buffs, it is health regeneration, cooldowns for your 2 active skills, and the final one is melee damage. So presumably you can do a melee build if that's something that you're interested in. If you want to be focused on melee, you can totally do it. Here's some armor. There, we got some armor available, and I'm gonna put on my armor here. So besides those buffs at the bottom, the 4 pips are your 4 like health slots, and then there's a 5th slot for the armor. You can pick up, I think it was like 3 of them that you can stack at any given time, and then you just have to actually, it's kind of weird, you have to open up your inventory and then click on things to use them. So besides the armor, there's also health containers, which you'll see me loot in this game, and I use a few times as well. There's basically 2 health variants. There is the fast to activate but slow to return health version, and then there is the slow and larger amount of health. It's like the blood syringe and the blood bag. The blood syringe will slowly regenerate health over time. The blood bag will give you a huge chunk of health, but it's got a much longer cast time. Okay, so next big team fight here is coming up, and this is actually really funny. We're basically just in an all-out brawl through the remainder of the game here. It's like we're in this town square. You haven't actually gotten to see it very closely. You're going to get a better look at it in the second match that we showcase here, but there is also the zone restriction mechanic in this game, where basically this like red mist will take on parts of the city and you have to move out of the way. So it's not just some big circle that shrinks over time. It actually kind of works in like clusters or in zones. You know, different battle royales have tried different things. They're going with the sort of clustered approach where different parts of the city will like become unavailable basically as the red haze moves in, but it's not just like a straight circle that shrinks. So here's an example. I said melee can be viable. This guy's trying the melee. Maybe viable is not the word. It didn't work out too well for him. He had some sort of a reflection ability. I'm actually not sure if that's one of the class abilities or if that's just innate to melee weapons. That I'm unaware of. I think in total we played for, it was 2 hours of gameplay total, and we played again back and forth between solo and team games. I don't know which one. I always like solo, I do, but the team games were kind of fun. They were a little hectic, a little crazy. I should also mention, you're definitely going to notice in this match, in some of these fights, there's quite a bit of like characters zipping around a little. Like you'll see a character port here and there, like all of a sudden they'll just move like 10 meters in one direction kind of randomly. This is an early build of the game. You know, that's all the like alpha versions of games, clarifications, if you will. It's, you know, so there's a little bit of that. I definitely feel that the performance is, as with any game, going to be super, super important. So hopefully they can iron out any of this like network to like teleportation. It's also weird though, because there are like blink skills in the game. So especially for the first few matches, I was like, maybe everyone just has the ability to blink. No, it's because there were some network problems. Here's the Diablo Rise thing that I mentioned. So this is the execute that you can do on players, and it's got a few big benefits. For one, it completely takes them out. Actually, if you don't finish a down player, they can slowly regenerate over time and come back themselves. So that's an interesting thing that they're doing in this game. If you get downed, you don't have to be revived by a teammate. You can actually self-revive. It's like a fairly lengthy duration. It's like 30 or 40 seconds or something, but it can happen. You can get back up if you're not finished. So the execute obviously will finish somebody off. You could also just shoot them, but it'll finish somebody off. It'll return you to full health, just like when you feed on NPCs. But the last big thing it does is it actually gives you an extra pip of available buffs. So as I mentioned, when you start, you can only choose 3 buffs, whether you spread those 3 out between the different options or put all 3 into one color. Like say you want all 3 into the health regeneration, you could do that. But then every time you do the Diablo Rise or execute a enemy player, you unlock another slot. So you get those first 3, and then now you could get a 4th. So maybe you do all 3 into HP regen, and on your 4th one, like this guy, I get 10% melee damage. And the more you Diablo Rise, the more slots you unlock. And I'm not sure what the max is. I don't know if you can Diablo Rise enough so that you could get all 3 in all of them. I'm not entirely sure how they handle the max, but that's essentially how it works. And in the games you're going to see today, I don't make the best use of the buff mechanic, unfortunately. Just simply because I'm, you know, again, learning the game, just starting only a few hours in. Ideally, I think what would make the most sense is that 3rd tier buff is usually pretty significantly stronger than those first 2 tiers. So it seems like it would make sense to pick something and just go from there. Okay, so here we are. We're getting into the last few minutes of this first match here. In the upper right-hand corner, you can see the stats of the remaining players as well as my takedowns. So I have 7 kills, and there are 14 players left in the lobby. And I think the match maximum on the games that we played was something like 40 players total, somewhere around there. And I don't know if that's going to be the cap that they have when the game fully launches. I would like it to be, you know, if we could get somewhere like 60 at least, that would be kind of cool. It wasn't bad though. As you've seen, it's been fairly, beyond the first like 2 or 3 minutes, it's been pretty non-stop action going on. And again, there's a bunch of other classes and they do different things. One of the characters on our team has the ability to do an AoE heal, which is really nice. She also has a blink that she can do, which is cool. And I love my three skills. I absolutely adore. I can go invisible, and then I get like a super fast movement speed buff for the duration. It's a pretty short duration. You're only invisible for like 2 or 3 seconds or something, but you get really zippy during that process. In fact, I think, yeah, right here, you see it? So I turn into this like translucent cloud, and I get really, really fast. And I think I figured that you can also actually use that to quickly climb up walls if you activate that and then start scaling a wall. You could just kind of zip up it, which is really nice. Zip up it and invisible. And then I've got my sonar bats, which I just shoot out, and it's a pretty wide radius that it'll spot enemies. So you can spot enemies on roofs, you can spot enemies around corners with that. That's all really cool. And then my passive, like I mentioned before, it's just that red trail that you see whenever an enemy gets relatively low, it'll activate it automatically, and there'll be a red trail around them. So that lets me find them. It like shows a few meters of their last known location. But that was it. That was the final team, and that was a victory. So there you go. So that was our very, very first match. I wasn't as familiar. This particular game, we're about an hour in, and I'm much more aware of what's going on. So you'll notice I scan right away. First thing I do is find a buff that I want. So that was a 10% cooldown reduction on my vanish skill. And ideally, I just try to focus on things I'm going to use. And again, like I mentioned, I think the best thing ultimately would be to just pick one skill and focus on that and only get those buffs. And then you'll also notice for the first time an orange piece of gear. So this is another system in the game that's kind of in its early stages. It's a system called artifacts. At the moment of the playtest session that we did here, those boots are actually the only artifact in the game. So there will be more in the future. But what they do is it gives you a double jump. So now, instead of, you can still do the sliding, I can climb up walls, but now I can also double jump. As you imagine, that's pretty damn big. So what they told us basically was that down the road, they will have different artifacts that have different significant, I mean, that's pretty significant. Having the ability to double jump really, really increases your movement capabilities, especially jumping from like, so much of this game was like rooftop fighting. That seemed to be like a pretty common thing. So being able to double jump, moving from rooftop to rooftop, is a pretty big advantage. I mean, even just being in a normal gunfight, being able to double jump over somebody, try to disorient them, that would be a pretty significant thing. So at the moment, it looks like it just is those boots, but later down the road, there will be more. We'll have to see what that means for like power balance between players and stuff. I'm just curious to see what else they come up with. The fact that the first artifact they do has double jump was pretty good. So here's a fight. I started engaging, and then I noticed briefly in the background there, I swear that I saw another player. I don't think they actually ever ended up engaging with us. I thought we were about to get third party, so that's why I kind of vanished and ran away. And then basically just a horrible engagement. Like, I don't know why this fight took so long. There's my ability activating. You notice that passive now, it's glowing. So now I can trace them, which it's actually also really, really nice because it tells me they're at low health now. Like, it's just such a nice indicator if I'm in a firefight like this at a medium distance, knowing that they're a low health. I don't remember. I think this is the healing class. She has the ability to blink while she's down, which is what she just did there. But as you saw, I finished her off, got the nice execute. And so now, like I mentioned, now I have access to 4 total buffs that I can get. So we're going to try to find some more NPCs, do some more buffs. And also in this game, because this was about an hour or so later, and I'm constantly basically using that vampire vision. I'm pulsing it out almost whenever it's available. Because like I mentioned, and as you can see, it shows you so damn far. So it gives you so much insight as to where's the loot, where are the NPCs for the buffs. I don't know why I get this. I never use melee. This was just, it doesn't make sense. I wasn't thinking, basically. I fed on that NPC and I wasn't thinking because I never ever use my melee. I do want to try it though. Once this game like becomes actually available for regular play and, you know, I'm spending some time with it, I'll probably give melee a shot. I always feel weird about melee in these games, especially third-person games like this, where people can peek corners. Like, what am I doing? What the hell am I doing? Picking melee again. I don't use it. I just wasn't thinking, plain and simple. Yeah, oh, and also, I didn't mention it before, if you're curious about, like, how does the wall climb mechanic work? You just run up to the wall and you hold forward, basically. I think you might also have to hold shift or space or something while it's happening. As of me doing this commentary, it's been like a week since we actually played, so I don't. But you basically just hold forward and maybe a modifier as well. But pretty straightforward is basically what you expect, and didn't have a lot of issues. Could basically almost always climb any wall that I thought I could. The biggest issues that I noticed were sometimes on some of these slanted rooftops, I would be trying to climb it and I'd just be sliding down all over the place. So that was a little weird. I don't know if that's intended, but it made awkward situations where I'd be in fights and I'd try to be climbing over something and I would just start sliding down and down and down. There's the red wall, by the way, that you're seeing slowly moving in, but as you can see on the mini-map in the upper left, it's moving into like this quadrant. It's just not moving into a circular area, as I talked about earlier. So this will be my second little engagement. Not much happens here. I got in kind of a tough spot. One of the other characters has this like poison smoke cloud that they throw out, and like you see here, I'm really low, so I just kind of vanished out. I just love the vanish skill. I thought it was so nice. I vanished out of there, do the blood syringe, so you can see I've got health ticking over time, and now I'm gonna chug down this blood bag, which will give me a nice big boost. And it gives you the boost, but then they kind of fill up in these chunks. You'll notice my health bar is yellow, and then once it's all the way, it fills up. That's actually, I don't know what that means. I don't know if that means I have the health when it's in the yellow, or if I don't have the health until it fully fills up to the white. I'm actually uncertain. I don't quite recall. So we've had a couple of engagements. It's going to be a little slow here for about a minute or so, but then it picks up. This was actually a really good game. It was a good game for me. You'll see what happens at the end, but I was pretty proud of this game overall, especially since we're playing against some pretty damn good people. Like, we had Choco Taco in our lobby. I think TSM's Myth was there, and he's like a fucking pro Fortnite player or something. Like, I don't know what they were thinking having me play these people, but fortunately there were also a bunch of devs in the lobby. So I was able to actually get some kills. I can't play against pro like MLG players. I'm not that good. You know what I'm saying? It's not. I don't know what they needed to put me in there with just a bunch of noob tubers or something. You know what I mean? Anyways, I'm not complaining. It was good. This was a decent game, and I had a good time. I'm always happy to check out new battle royales. You know what I mean? So, and it's always nice. I think that probably the most interesting thing with all these battle royales is seeing like what are these different games and these different companies doing to like distinguish themselves beyond the X number of players, last person or last team standing. What are the differentiations? So obviously with this game, we got the vampire theme. I think that's cool. We've got the wall climbing and we've got the vampire abilities. So that's kind of their own little twist here. I just like this guy up. I can't believe. I'm like, how is that not enough damage? How much damage was that total? That was I swear that was at least 250. I'm pretty sure 250 is the max because there's 200 base health and then there's armor of 50, but it doesn't matter. He's low. You can see the blood trail. I spot him easily. Boom. Dunzo. There was so as I mentioned, 6 classes in the game with their different abilities, and they're broken up into 3 different clans. So there's a clan ability that will be shared, and then a unique ability for the specific class that you have, as well as a unique passive. So the clan ability for my clan was just the invisibility option. The other like assassin type character that was in my same clan had the passive. Instead of that blood trail, I'm pretty sure his passive was that he could crouch and go slightly invisible. I just didn't really see the benefit of that because I'm like, how often am I going to be crouching around here? I'd much rather have, I mean, as you've seen me put to good use, the blood trail is so helpful, especially with all the movement in this game. And when, if somebody has boots and they can double jump and the sliding and any of the characters that have blink or the invisibility, which gives you a speed boost, like with so much movement, I think it can be easy to lose track of somebody when you're fighting them. So to have that blood trail, if you get them below a threshold, I'm not sure what it is. I'm going to guess like somewhere around 20 to 30%, but you get them below a threshold and then you can just track them the rest of the way. It's just so freaking nice, dude. I absolutely really love it. There have been some NPCs besides the base ones. So you notice that little red laser sight in the background? It was there a second ago. But there's basically like NPC enemies. There's like basic ones that just have like assault rifles, and if they spot you doing something wrong, they'll start shooting at you. They seemed fairly inconsequential. There is another layer to this though, and I actually, in my entire play session, be it solo or when we did team games, we never checked it out. So I'm not sure how big of a deal it is, but basically throughout spots on the map, there are these little like red crosses. There's actually one showing up just peeking out on my mini map in the bottom left there. It just disappeared, but these little red crosses, and they're like boss enemies that you can fight, but we just never engage them. At no point did we ever go for it. So I'm not entirely sure. Obviously, there's some benefit. Maybe they drop a lot of consumables, or they can give you some good weapons, or possibly they drop artifacts. But yeah, there are NPC bosses. There's another one on my minimap there now in the northern part of it. You can fight them and get stuff from them, but I'm not entirely sure how it works, so I can't speak onto it too much. All right, so now it's time for some rooftop fighting. I saw some player over here engage. He was revealed. I'm assuming that means that because he got a blood hunt from NPCs, and that's just easy. Just go up there. He like invisible towards me or something. Why did you? And now he's low, so I'm just gonna pop out my double barrel shotgun. Boom, boom. See you later. And the execute. This was weird. Look at this. This guy, I swear I was dead here, but he activated his, I don't know what he was doing. He walked up to me. I was executing. I swear he could have just went up behind me and stabbed me. So I don't know if they were just weren't sure what was happening and were trying to prevent getting shot because that little sword swing does reflecting bullets. But then while at low health, they decided to walk towards me. I'm just confused. One thing I do want to mention about the Diablo Rise ability or the execute ability is it definitely seems like it's going to be one of those risk and reward things. Obviously, the reward is you get full health regen when you finish it, and you get that extra available buff slot. The risk is you're completely vulnerable, kind of like I was in that situation. I think had that player had their gun out, they could have just started shooting me while I was doing the Diablo Rise. So you're very vulnerable when you do it, especially if you do it out in the open. And I don't know how much, like once this game comes out and people are playing and a metagame forms, I don't know how frequently people are actually going to do the execute animation on other players just because it does leave you so vulnerable. I guess it just depends. It's going to be really, really situational. But I definitely feel like right there, I could have just got blasted, but I didn't. So I feel like in a game against super... Oh, here we go. There's a guy. He was doing a little feed. I walk up to him. Boom. Pumped 100 damage in just like that. And then he's low health. Do a little bit more. You know, because I just did the Diablo Rise all the time anyways. I realized the potential risks, but until it started backfiring, I just figured, you know what? If it's working, I'm going to keep doing it. It hasn't backfired yet. It hasn't kicked me in the butt yet, so no big deal. All right, so we're going to be, we're getting close here. The last couple of minutes of this match. I think here's a little engagement that happens. I get the third party. I pump a lot of damage, but then they start slamming me, and I'm like, there's two people here. I don't want to sit in this, so I just kind of blink away. I'm generally speaking rather playing it safe than sorry. We do got a player sitting over here. I don't even remember what happens at this point. Oh, they're at low health. Okay. Yeah, this is the player that I had dinged up top, and then they dropped down. So again, I'm telling you, dude, this blood trail ability seems really freaking good. I don't know. In case you were curious, it basically seems like the three clans are like Assassiny with the invisibility. There's a clan that seems more brawling focused, where they have like the ability to leap. And then the last clan, I don't remember what their shared ability is, but they are like support characters. Like I know one of them has like an AoE flashbang essentially, and another one of them has the self and team healing. So yeah, just different styles for each of the clans. And I'll be curious to see if they add more over time, you know, more clans and more characters and all that stuff. Another little fight here. Easy peasy. I think I tried to do... No, I guess I didn't. So there's a great example. You see, there was some crossfire going on. I was getting shot from below, and I'm pretty sure someone was also up here with me. At least a moment ago, they might have been. But when that was happening, instead of standing there and trying to do that Diablo Rise execute thing, you just get a couple shots in the head, and it's super quick and easy. I presume that it will be what most players do. And here's when things start to get a little rough for me. I had that little engagement up there. We got the zone closing in. Now, if you're curious about the zone, here's a look at it. It goes over, you do a little damage, it ticks through armor first, and it's actually not terribly bad. I mean, as you can see, I'm kind of sitting here. There is also an item that you can activate. Actually, that's why it's not so bad, because I just activated an item which temporarily prevents the thing from damaging you. You see that little buff right above the 106? That is the item. It's got a short duration, and while you have it on, while you have it active, you won't take any damage from the zone. I can't believe I engaged in this fight. It actually ended up working out for me, but I was about half health when I decided. I mean, I guess I did have the jump, and it did end up working out. As you can see, it is actually pretty decent amount of damage. It wasn't too bad. And then this happens. I'm here with just about a pip and a half of health, and FPS Pro Mega Gamer Myth finishes me off. If anyone's gonna take me out in a game, if it's someone like him, I'm fine with it. And then for the rest of the match, the last minute or so, it will just be spectating an actual pro player. Probably go watch his video too, maybe, or whoever else. I don't know who else is actually gonna make content. Anyways, that'll do it for the video pretty much though. Thank you guys for joining me and checking out Vampire the Masquerade Bloodhunt. And of course, Again, thank you to Shark Mob for sponsoring the video. As always, with any sponsored content, I'm happy to show you guys some games. Leave it up to you to kind of form your own opinions, what you think about it. But if you do like what you saw, or you're just interested in learning more about the game, I will have a link in the description below. As you probably assume, helps me out a bunch if you click on it. So just click on the link, check it out. But yeah, thank you for joining me. Hope you enjoyed this gameplay. I'm trying to formulate a lot of my sponsored content like this, where I can just show you some raw footage of the game and kind of talk you through what the play was like and what it was like. It's really interesting watching other people play. I do like having spectator modes because you can see what other people are thinking. Like, why wasn't I doing this? You just sit on the top and look for people, don't make a noise, and then just light them up when you see them. Let them fall into a pit like that. And then you just win the game, right? It's that easy. That's all you have to do. It's that easy, of course. All right. Thank you guys, as always, for watching my stuff. Hope you enjoy it. Appreciate ya. And I will see you in the next one. Take it easy. Let's see what he does. It's like almost done. He's just chilling up here. It's so sneaky. Oh my God. And then he just lights this guy up. There's no fall damage, so just jump on his head. Wow. That's what good players do, huh? Oh, of course you have to bad mana, right? Obviously.